We're back in Brazil. This time we have a whole different route planned, away from the normal tourist corridor. Come along and discover a different side of this country. We are Andrea and Mike from Xtremes. Since 2018, we have been living and traveling full-time in our Mercedes-Benz expedition truck. Along with our daughter Zoe, we're on an adventure across South America. Come along and follow us as we explore this incredible continent. Right after crossing the border from Argentina to Brazil, we make a stop at the Itaipu hydroelectric plant. Located on the border between Brazil and Paraguay, it plays a crucial role in providing sustainable energy for both countries, supplying around 8.6% of the energy consumed in Brazil and 86.3% of consumption in Paraguay. Just when we arrive, one of the floodgates is open, releasing around 4,440 cubic meters of water per second. As a perspective, there are 14 floodgates in total. It's an impressive structure no matter where you look. So I'm just going to throw in some figures here to interpret how monumental this construction is. The volume of concrete used in the construction of the hydroelectric plant, 12.7 million cubic meters, would be enough to build 210 stadiums the size of the Maracanã in Rio de Janeiro. 40,000 workers participated in the construction of the plant. 196 meters is the height of the main dam, which is similar to the height of a 65-story building. The used amount of iron and steel would make it possible to build 380 Eiffel Towers. Impressed yet? Us too. There are many more interesting facts about this dam, but we will let you look them up yourself. As always, the road through Brazil is long. This time the landscape is a bit greener than when we visited a few months ago. Our next memorable stop is the Parque Estadual de Vila Velha. The sandstone formations we visit here began to form 300 million years ago, after the compactation and hardening of frequent layers of sand, when the park region was near the South Pole and the world was formed by a large continent called Gondwana. The trail through the sandstone formations is longer than we expected. And luckily the day we visit, we are nearly by ourselves, so we can even spot some wildlife and enjoy the sounds of it. On the backside of the rocks, the trail takes us through a beautiful forest which offers a different perspective of the landscape the sandstone is located in. In another part of the park, we can look into the deepest vertical caves of the Paraná state. Shortly after, we visit two towns which were founded by Dutch immigrants, Carambeí and Castro. The windmill in Castro is considered the third largest in the world, with 26 meters long blades and propellers. On the same evening, we experience a short but pretty strong thunderstorm with heavy rain and even hail. We were not expecting this in Brazil. It seems like the Dutch brought more along from the Netherlands than just their culture and modern farming methods. But don't worry, the hail did not do any damage to any part of our truck. Speaking of trucks, the day after we see this well-kept round bonnet truck with an extremely lifted rear load bed. How high is it? This is known as Traseira Alta in Brazil. We have seen many of them on the road, but have not had the chance yet to look at one of them up close. The days are hot. The temperatures usually climb over 30 degrees Celsius. So we're quite happy when we find a waterfall where we can cool off after the long drives. This place was a surprise for us. We planned to stop here mainly because we were looking for a place to camp in nature and learned that it is actually a quite important historic site. It is the border between the state of Paraná and São Paulo, and also the place where a 3-month armed uprising led to the adoption of a new Brazilian constitution in 1934. This conflict was the largest armed struggle in Brazil in the 20th century and left its marks here. Another surprise were the hundreds of guaxi birds feeding their young in the large nests hanging from the tree canopies. Soon after, we arrive in the state of Minas Gerais, the 4th largest state in Brazil. Named for the general mines of its 18th century gold rush. Minas Gerais is now the crown jewel of Brazilian coffee, producing nearly 50% of the country's total crop. Our route takes us through endless coffee plantations, and of course we get to try different flavors. Our goal is to head to the Serra de Canastra, an area made of 2 high plateaus reaching an elevation of 1,496 meters above sea level. Outside of the national park are countless off-road tracks, some of which we plan on driving with our Oxor. There isn't really much or any information if it is possible to drive with a truck, but it looks doable. As we enter the first trail, it becomes clear that these were made for cars, and the vegetation on the lower altitudes is a bit tight for our truck. But since there is no traffic, we make it through pretty quickly, and the higher we climb, the easier the trails get. The first day on the mountain ends at a viewpoint where we decide to camp. The view of the plains below is spectacular. Over the next days, we follow the trails along the crest of the mountain and admire the ever-changing landscape and vegetation. Every afternoon there is a short but intense thunderstorm, so we plan our camp spots where our Oxor isn't the highest point. This way we can enjoy the lightning show across the sky without having to worry too much. As we enter the valley between the two plateaus, we come across many bridges. None of them are marked on how many tons they hold, so we have to assess them ourselves. Luckily, Mike, being a carpenter, is pretty good at estimating the strength of the wooden beams, and most of the bridges are only short, so there is only ever one axle of our truck on them. But we get to one bridge where we can't be sure. It is longer than the other ones, our entire truck would be on it, full weight, and we can't get a proper look under the bridge. The final deciding factor though is that it swings when we walk across it. So we decide that it's not worth the risk and turn around. We have to drive a detour to continue through the mountains and decide to camp next to a small creek for a few days before we keep going. Stay tuned for our next video, where we take you through the rest of the mountain range and the tracks get even more adventurous.